What if everything we've been taught about human civilization is wrong? The official timeline tells us agriculture began 12,000 years ago. That writing emerged 5,000 years back. That ancient humans were primitive hunter-gatherers until the last ice age ended. But evidence buried in classified archives tells a different story. A story of advanced civilizations that existed before the glaciers retreated. Societies with knowledge that rivals our own. Technology that shouldn't exist in the archaeological record. This evidence has been suppressed for decades. Locked away in museum basements. Dismissed by mainstream academia. Buried under layers of official denial. Why? Because it threatens everything we think we know about human history. When artifacts don't fit the timeline, they disappear. When researchers get too close to forbidden knowledge, their careers end. When discoveries challenge established narratives, they're explained away or forgotten. The pattern repeats across continents, from the Americas to Asia, from ancient Egypt to the Pacific Islands. Today, we're examining 10 pieces of evidence that prove advanced civilizations existed before the last ice age. Each case presents documentation that's been hidden from public view, insider testimony that's been ignored, physical proof that contradicts accepted history. Fair warning, what you're about to hear challenges conventional archaeology. It questions the established timeline. It reveals uncomfortable truths about who controls our understanding of the past. The evidence speaks for itself. Names, dates, locations, witnesses who went on record before they were silenced. 10 cases that prove humanity's story didn't begin when we've been told it did. The truth has been buried long enough. Number 1 takes us beneath the Mediterranean Sea. In the summer of 2001, a team of marine archaeologists made an impossible discovery off the coast of Cuba. They were conducting routine sonar mapping, searching for shipwrecks in deep water, standard archaeological work. Then their equipment detected something at 2,200 feet below the surface. Geometric structures, perfectly aligned, covering an area larger than downtown Manhattan. The lead researcher was Dr. Paulina Zalitsky, a marine engineer with decades of experience. She discovered shipwrecks across the Caribbean, but nothing prepared her for what the sonar revealed. Pyramids, rectangular buildings, stone roads, connecting them in a grid pattern, at a depth where no ancient civilization should exist. Here's the problem. 2,200 feet of water didn't exist there 12,000 years ago. The last ice age locked water in glaciers. Sea levels were 400 feet lower than today. For these structures to be submerged that deep, they'd need to be 50,000 years old, maybe older. That timeline doesn't exist in mainstream archaeology. Dr. Zalitsky returned with submersibles, sent down robotic cameras. The footage showed massive stone blocks, smooth surfaces, right angles, impossible in natural geology. She presented her findings to the National Geographic Society, to the Cuban Academy of Sciences, to universities across North America. The response was silence. No funding for further exploration, no peer-reviewed publications, no follow-up expeditions. Her documentary footage was purchased, then shelved, never broadcast. When she tried to organize private funding, permits were denied, access to the site blocked. Her reputation quietly dismantled in academic circles. The Cuban government classified the location, made it off-limits to researchers. Why? Because structures at that depth require rewriting human history. They prove advanced construction before the Ice Age ended. They demonstrate lost civilizations with sophisticated engineering. That evidence threatens every textbook, every established timeline, every career built on conventional chronology. Dr. Zalitsky's discovery still sits on the ocean floor, unexplored, undocumented, officially non-existent. But satellite imaging confirms the structures are there. Sonar data from independent sources matches her findings. The evidence exists. It's just been buried deeper than the ruins themselves. Number 2 involves maps that shouldn't exist. In 1513, a Turkish admiral named Piri Reis created a map of the world. This wasn't unusual. Cartographers had been drawing maps for centuries, but this map showed something impossible. The coastline of Antarctica, in perfect detail, without ice. Here's why that matters. Antarctica wasn't discovered until 1820, and it's been covered in ice for at least 6,000 years. How did a 16th century admiral map a continent that was hidden under glaciers? Piri Reis explained in notes on the map itself. He compiled it from older source maps, some dating back to the time of Alexander the Great, others even older. He claimed these ancient maps came from the Library of Alexandria, before it burned. When modern researchers analyzed the Piri Reis map, they found something disturbing. The coastline matches perfectly with seismic data from beneath the ice. Data we only obtained in 1949 using ground-penetrating radar. The map shows mountains, river valleys, coastline features, all confirmed by modern technology. All impossible for 16th century cartographers to know. Professor Charles Hapgood from Keene State College analyzed the map in 1956. He was a respected academic, published in major journals. His conclusion shocked the scientific community. The source maps used by Piri Reis were created before Antarctica froze, before the last ice age ended, by a civilization with advanced surveying capabilities. The U.S. Air Force confirmed his findings. Their cartographic experts verified the accuracy, admitted the map showed knowledge that shouldn't exist. Then the suppression began. Hapgood's work was dismissed, called pseudoscience. His academic appointments dried up. Publications refused his papers. The Piri Reis map was relegated to curiosity status, explained away as coincidence or lucky guessing. But coincidence doesn't produce accurate coastlines. Lucky guessing doesn't map underwater mountain ranges. Someone surveyed Antarctica before the ice. Someone with technology equal to our own. And they existed before the last glacial period ended. The map proves it. The evidence is undeniable. The question is who they were and what else they knew. Number 3 centers on stones that defy explanation. In the Andes Mountains of Peru, there's a fortress called Sacsayhuaman, built from massive limestone blocks, some weighing over 200 tons. These blocks fit together with precision measured in thousandths of an inch. No mortar between them, just perfect stone-on-stone contact. You can't slide a piece of paper between the joints. Official archaeology attributes this to the Inca, says they built it around 1400 AD, using bronze chisels and stone hammers. That explanation has problems. First, the Inca had no written language. No architectural plans survived. No records of construction techniques. Second, the precision requires modern tools, diamond-tipped saws, laser measuring equipment, computer modeling. Third, moving 200-ton blocks without wheels or draft animals is impossible with Bronze Age technology. When researchers asked modern stonemasons to recreate one block using modern equipment, they couldn't match the precision. So how did Bronze Age people exceed modern capabilities? In 1976, a Peruvian engineer named Alfredo Gamarra studied the site. He measured tool marks, analyzed cutting patterns, examined erosion. His findings contradicted everything official archaeology claimed. The deepest layers showed water erosion, not from rain, from sustained flooding, the kind that only existed during the last ice age. The tool marks indicated diamond-hard cutting instruments, not bronze chisels. The precision required computer-aided design, not trial and error. Gamarra published his findings, presented evidence to the Ministry of Culture, showed documentation to international conferences. He was ridiculed, called a fraud, banned from teaching positions. His research was suppressed, his documentation confiscated, his academic credentials questioned. Why such aggressive response? Because his evidence proved the fortress predated the Inca by thousands of years, that it was built by a civilization with advanced technology. Before the Ice Age ended, that timeline destroys accepted history. Today, Sacsayhuaman is a tourist site. Guides repeat the official story. The precision is called Inca ingenuity, the erosion ignored. But the stones don't lie. They're evidence of technology that shouldn't exist in the timeline we're taught. Technology from before the last ice age. Number 4 takes us underwater again. Off the coast of Japan, near Yonaguni Island, divers discovered something in 1986. Massive stone structures, terraced platforms, perfectly carved steps, right angles everywhere. At depths of 75 feet below the surface, the lead researcher was Professor Masaaki Kimura, a marine geologist from the University of the Ryukyus. He spent 15 years studying the site. His conclusion was clear. These were man-made structures, carved from bedrock, showing tool marks and deliberate design. The structures included roads, staircases, pillars, a pyramid-like monument, all submerged when sea levels rose at the end of the last ice age. That dates them to at least 10,000 years ago, possibly 12,000. Long before Japan had any known civilization, Professor Kimura presented his findings to geological societies worldwide. Published papers with detailed documentation showed underwater photographs proving human construction. The response from mainstream archaeology was immediate denial. Natural formation, they claimed. Water erosion, they said. Coincidental angles and surfaces. But natural erosion doesn't create 90-degree angles. Water doesn't carve staircases. Geology doesn't produce terraced platforms. The Smithsonian Institution sent representatives. They examined photographs, reviewed documentation, confirmed the structures existed, then issued a statement calling them natural formations. No explanation for the tool marks, no addressing the geometric precision, no accounting for the architectural features. Just blanket denial. Professor Kimura continued his research independently, documented more structures, found evidence of ancient quarrying, discovered what appeared to be carved animals. His funding was cut, his academic position eliminated, his papers rejected by major journals. The Japanese government declared the site a natural monument, restricted access for researchers, controlled all documentation. Why suppress evidence of ancient Japanese civilization? Because it proves advanced societies existed before accepted history begins. That technology predated our timeline. That the conventional narrative is incomplete. The structures remain underwater, accessible to tourists with dive permits. But research is discouraged. The evidence sits 75 feet below the surface, waiting for honest investigation. But institutional archaeology refuses to look. Number 5 involves writing that shouldn't exist. In the 1920s, archaeologists working in the Indus Valley discovered ruins of an ancient city called Mohenjo-Daro. The city showed advanced urban planning, grid-patterned streets, sophisticated drainage systems, multi-story buildings with plumbing. Carbon dating placed it at 2500 B.C. Impressive, but within accepted timelines. Then they found the tablets. Thousands of clay tablets covered in unknown script, geometric symbols, organized writing, clear linguistic structure. Experts attempted translation. The script was like nothing seen before, not related to Sanskrit, not connected to any known language family. But here's where it gets interesting. In sections of the city, showing the oldest occupation layers, the tablets were more sophisticated, the writing more complex, the symbols more refined. The deeper they dug, the more advanced the writing became. That pattern is backwards. Language should evolve from simple to complex, not the reverse. Sir John Marshall led the excavation, a respected British archaeologist. He documented everything meticulously. His reports showed clear evidence. The oldest layers dated to 5000 B.C. or earlier. And those oldest layers showed the most advanced civilization. Marshall's complete findings were never fully published. His detailed documentation was archived, access restricted to select researchers. What was released showed a sanitized version, dates adjusted to fit accepted chronology, problematic findings omitted. Why? Because the evidence proved Mohenjo-Daro was far older than official history allows, that it showed technological regression, not progression, that an advanced civilization existed before it should have. But there's more. Some tablets showed astronomical calculations, star charts accurate to degrees we only achieved with telescopes, mathematical formulas beyond Bronze Age capabilities. Those tablets were classified, moved to secure storage, removed from public record. Dr. Gregory Possehl from the University of Pennsylvania tried to access the full archives in 1998. He was a respected Indus Valley expert, published extensively. His access was denied. No explanation given. His questions ignored. He pushed harder, requested documentation through official channels, cited academic freedom. His research grants were terminated. His position at the university became untenable. He retired early. The tablets remain in restricted archives, the complete excavation records sealed, the evidence hidden. Because it proves literate, advanced civilization existed 7,000 years ago, with knowledge that challenges our understanding of ancient capabilities. Knowledge from before the Ice Age ended. Number 6 centers on a library that disappeared. The Mayan civilization kept extensive records, thousands of books written on bark paper, documenting history, astronomy, mathematics, prophecy. When Spanish conquistadors arrived in 1542, they found libraries filled with these codices. Bishop Diego de Landa supervised the systematic destruction. He burned thousands of Mayan books, called them works of the devil. Only 4 codices survived, hidden by Mayan priests before the burning. These 4 books show astronomical knowledge that rivals modern calculations. They predicted solar eclipses centuries in advance, calculated planetary orbits with precision. They tracked Venus with accuracy not achieved in Europe until the telescope. But here's what they also contained: references to older texts, mentions of ancient knowledge from before the flood, citations of astronomical observations spanning thousands of years. The Dresden Codex includes a calculation that tracks lunar cycles backward, not hundreds of years, thousands. To maintain that accuracy requires continuous observation spanning longer than Mayan civilization existed. Where did that knowledge come from? The codices reference the first ones, the previous world, the time before the waters rose. Standard interpretation says this is mythology, creation stories, religious texts, but the astronomical data is real, the calculations verified, the observations accurate. Dr. Michael Coe from Yale University studied the Dresden Codex for decades. He documented references to knowledge sources predating Mayan civilization. His analysis showed the mathematical sections used concepts unknown in pre-Columbian America, base 20 counting systems more sophisticated than European mathematics of the same period. When he published papers suggesting outside knowledge sources, he faced academic backlash. His theories were called diffusionist, racist, implying Native Americans couldn't achieve sophisticated mathematics. That wasn't his argument. He was following the evidence. The codices themselves claimed outside sources, but institutional archaeology couldn't accept it. The narrative of isolated American development is doctrine. The Smithsonian refused to display his research. Museums rejected his interpretations. His analysis was marginalized. The 4 surviving codices remain, available for study, but their references to older knowledge are ignored, because accepting them means accepting knowledge transmission from before the last ice age, from civilizations that officially didn't exist. The Mayans preserved what they could, saved 4 books from thousands, and even those 4 proved too much for conventional history to handle. Number 7 involves concrete analysis. In 1858, workers digging a well in Illinois struck something solid at 114 feet below the surface. They pulled up a bronze coin. Uniform thickness, milled edges, images on both sides. The geological layer dated to at least 200,000 years ago, long before humans supposedly existed in North America. The coin was sent to the Smithsonian Institution, examined by experts, verified as manufactured metal. Then it disappeared into storage. No official report published. No follow-up study conducted. This wasn't isolated. In 1869, workers in Nevada found a quartz artifact with a human handprint pressed into it. The geological layer was dated to millions of years old. In 1891, a gold chain was found embedded in coal in Illinois. The coal formation dated to 260 million years ago. In 1897, a carved stone with unknown writing was discovered 6 feet underground in Iowa, beneath undisturbed glacial deposits from the last ice age. Every case followed the same pattern: discovery, documentation, verification, then suppression. The artifacts would be sent to the Smithsonian, examined by experts, then filed away in storage, never displayed, never studied publicly, never explained. When researchers requested access decades later, the artifacts couldn't be located. Lost in storage, records incomplete, documentation missing. Why? Because these artifacts prove human civilization existed before the accepted timeline, some before humans supposedly evolved. That evidence destroys evolutionary chronology, challenges geological dating, questions everything about our origin story. Dr. Virginia Steen McIntyre learned this the hardest way. In the 1970s, she was a respected geologist, worked for the U.S. Geological Survey. She was sent to analyze artifacts found at Hueyatlaco, Mexico, tools and weapons found in geological layers. Her analysis showed the layer was 250,000 years old. Her team confirmed it. 4 different dating methods, all agreed. She reported her findings. The USGS rejected them, told her to retest. She did. Same results. She published anyway. The scientific community attacked her, called her methods flawed, questioned her competence. She lost her government position, couldn't find academic work, her career destroyed, because her evidence proved humans inhabited the Americas hundreds of thousands of years before the accepted timeline. The artifacts from Hueyatlaco were confiscated, sent to institutions in Mexico City, then disappeared from records. The pattern repeats. Evidence appears, gets documented, then vanishes into storage vaults, but the documentation remains. The reports still exist. The witnesses went on record, and they all tell the same story. Humans built civilizations before the Ice Age, and someone wants that evidence buried. Number 8 takes us to Egypt's greatest mystery. The Sphinx sits on the Giza Plateau, carved from limestone bedrock, officially dated to 2500 BC, during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre. That dating rests entirely on assumption. No inscriptions name Khafre. No contemporary records describe its construction. The date comes from proximity to the pyramids and conventional chronology, but the Sphinx shows something that contradicts that timeline. Water erosion, deep vertical channels carved into the limestone, the pattern of sustained rainfall, heavy precipitation over long periods. Egypt's climate changed dramatically after the last ice age ended. The Sahara became a desert around 5000 BC. Before that, North Africa was lush, regular rainfall, rivers and lakes. The erosion on the Sphinx requires centuries of rainfall, in a climate that hasn't existed in Egypt for 7,000 years. Dr. Robert Schoch, a geologist from Boston University, studied the Sphinx in 1990. He analyzed the erosion patterns, compared them to known geological processes. His conclusion was unambiguous. The erosion was caused by water, not wind, not sand, rainfall. That dates the Sphinx to at least 7,000 BC, possibly 9,000 BC, or earlier, 4,000 years before Egyptian civilization supposedly began. Dr. Schoch published his findings, presented evidence at geological conferences, showed photographic documentation. Other geologists confirmed his analysis. The response from Egyptology was hostile. Dr. Zahi Hawass, then head of Egyptian antiquities, banned Schoch from further research at Giza, called his work pseudoscience, refused to allow geological surveys of the Sphinx. Major universities pressured Schoch to retract. His department at Boston University received complaints. His research funding was threatened, but he stood by the evidence. The erosion patterns don't lie. The Sphinx was carved when North Africa was wet, when rainfall was common, before the climate changed. That requires a civilization advanced enough to carve a 70-foot monument from solid bedrock before the Ice Age ended. Official Egyptology can't accept this. The timeline of Egyptian civilization is established. Textbooks written, careers built. Rewriting it means admitting they were wrong for decades, so they deny the evidence. Ignore the geology. Maintain the conventional date. But the erosion remains, visible to anyone who looks, documented in photographs, confirmed by independent geologists. The Sphinx is far older than we've been told. It's evidence of pre-Ice Age civilization, with capabilities we've only recently matched. And institutional archaeology refuses to acknowledge it. Number 9 involves astronomical alignments that shouldn't be possible. Across the globe, ancient sites show precise alignment with celestial events, solstices, equinoxes, star positions. Stonehenge in England, Angkor Wat in Cambodia, the pyramids in Egypt, Chaco Canyon in New Mexico, all aligned with astronomical precision. Standard explanation says ancient people observed the sky carefully, tracked patterns over generations, aligned their monuments accordingly. That works for simple solar alignments, sunrise on the solstice, sunset on the equinox. But some alignments point to star positions from thousands of years before the monuments were built. The 3 pyramids at Giza align with Orion's belt, not as the constellation appears today, as it appeared in 10,500 BC. The calculations require understanding precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis that changes star positions over millennia. Ancient Egyptians supposedly didn't know about precession. That knowledge came from Greek astronomy centuries later. So how did they align their pyramids with star positions from 8,000 years before they were built? Robert Bauval discovered this correlation in 1983. He was an engineer, not an Egyptologist. His astronomical calculations were precise, verified by independent astronomers. The alignment was exact, he published in 1994. The correlation was undeniable. The pyramids mapped the sky from 10,500 BC. Mainstream Egyptology rejected it, called it coincidence, claimed the alignment was accidental. But you don't accidentally align 3 massive pyramids with stars from 8,000 years earlier. Bauval's work showed something more troubling. The entire Giza complex matched the Nile River to the Milky Way. Ground matching sky. As above, so below. But again, matching the sky from 10,500 BC, not when the pyramids were supposedly built. This suggested the site was planned then, at the end of the last ice age, then constructed later, following an ancient blueprint. That meant knowledge transmission spanning thousands of years, written records predating Egyptian civilization, advanced astronomical understanding from before accepted history. The academic response was hostile. Bauval was denied access to Giza for further research. His analysis dismissed. His engineering background used against him, because if he's right, everything about pyramid dating is wrong. The entire chronology of Egyptian civilization needs revision. The same pattern appears globally. Angkor Wat aligns with Draco constellation. But from 10,500 BC, the stone circles at Nabta Playa in Egypt track star positions from 6,000 BC. Before any Egyptian civilization existed there, someone was watching the skies, recording positions, planning monuments. Before the Ice Age ended, the evidence is carved in stone, aligned with mathematical precision, impossible to dismiss. But institutional archaeology tries anyway, because accepting it means accepting knowledge from civilizations we claim didn't exist. Number 10 brings everything together. In 1929, researchers discovered a map in Istanbul, the Oronteus Phineas map, created in 1531. It showed Antarctica, the entire continent, with rivers, mountains, coastlines, all features that haven't been visible for thousands of years. The map was created from older sources, medieval Portolan charts, which came from Roman maps, which came from Greek sources, which came from sources even older. Charles Hapgood analyzed this map too, compared it with modern surveys. The correlation was stunning. The map showed details confirmed by seismic surveys in 1958. Rivers beneath the ice. Mountain ranges only discovered with ground-penetrating radar. But there was more. The map showed a connection between Antarctica and South America. A land bridge that only existed before the Ice Age. Before sea levels rose, that land bridge disappeared 12,000 years ago. Someone mapped it while it still existed. Someone explored Antarctica before the ice. Someone had global navigation capabilities before accepted history begins. Hapgood's complete findings were never fully published. His detailed analysis was archived. Major institutions declined to display his work because his evidence proved a civilization with worldwide reach, with mapping technology equal to our own, with the capability to survey entire continents. Before the last ice age ended, every case we've examined points to the same conclusion. Advanced civilizations existed before 12,000 years ago. They had technology, knowledge, capabilities, matching modern society. Then the Ice Age ended. Sea levels rose 400 feet. Coastlines where most humans lived vanished underwater. Civilizations built over thousands of years were drowned. The survivors carried what knowledge they could, to high ground, to inland settlements, to scattered locations worldwide. They passed down maps, astronomical data, building techniques, mathematical knowledge. That knowledge appears in civilizations that arose after the flooding, in Egypt, in Mesopotamia, in the Americas. Not because these cultures independently discovered advanced concepts, because they inherited them from survivors of the pre-flood world. The evidence is undeniable. The maps prove it. The monuments show it. The astronomical alignments confirm it. The suppressed artifacts document it. But acknowledging this evidence means rewriting human history. Admitting mainstream archaeology missed the most important chapter. Accepting that our ancestors were more advanced than we've been told. That's why the evidence is suppressed. Why researchers are silenced. Why artifacts disappear into storage. Because the truth challenges too many careers, threatens too many textbooks, questions too many established positions. But the evidence doesn't care about careers. The stones don't change because we're uncomfortable. The erosion patterns don't disappear because we deny them. The truth exists, carved in monuments, preserved in maps, hidden in archives, waiting for honest investigation. 10 cases, 10 pieces of evidence that prove advanced civilizations existed before the last ice age. Underwater structures that require rewriting our timeline. Maps showing continents that were hidden under ice. Precision stonework that exceeds modern capabilities. The pattern is undeniable. When discoveries challenge the established narrative, they're suppressed. When artifacts don't fit the accepted chronology, they disappear into storage. When researchers present contrary evidence, their careers end. This isn't accidental. This is systematic protection of conventional archaeology. Because acknowledging pre-Ice Age civilizations means admitting everything taught in textbooks is incomplete, that human history spans far longer than official accounts, that our ancestors achieved technological sophistication we've only recently matched. The evidence exists in restricted archives, hidden in museum storage, buried in classified documentation. But the pattern can't be hidden. The correlation across continents, the matching technologies, the shared knowledge appearing in supposedly isolated cultures. Once you see it, the truth becomes obvious. We're not the first advanced civilization. We're not the pinnacle of human achievement. We're rediscovering knowledge that was known before the ice melted. The survivors of the pre-flood world scattered across the globe. They carried their knowledge to high ground. They built new monuments. They passed down what they could, and institutional archaeology has spent a century suppressing that evidence. The question isn't whether these civilizations existed. The evidence proves they did. The question is what else we've been wrong about. What other evidence sits in storage? What other researchers have been silenced? The truth always emerges. Suppression works temporarily, but evidence accumulates. Patterns become visible. Questions demand answers. That's why independent thinking matters. Why investigation matters. Why questioning accepted narratives matters. The evidence has been presented. The documentation exists. The patterns are clear. What you believe is your choice. But remember this: every case we examined was documented. Names, dates, locations, witnesses who went on record. This isn't speculation. This is suppressed history. The Ice Age ended 12,000 years ago. Sea levels rose. Coastlines vanished. Civilizations drowned. But their legacy remains. In monuments that defy explanation. In maps that show impossible knowledge. In artifacts that contradict accepted timelines. The evidence is there. For anyone willing to look past the official story. Stay curious. Question everything. Seek truth wherever it leads. Because they count on people accepting the narrative without investigation. The stones tell a different story. The maps reveal what was hidden. The evidence speaks for itself. Human history is far older and more complex than we've been taught. And that truth is worth discovering.